Hi everybody, I'm Jeff with Virginia Paranormal Investigations, and tonight we're down here at the Dryden Farmhouse in Poquoson, Virginia, which is an 1890s farmhouse, and we're going to learn a little bit more about the history of it, as well as some of the ghost stories that they've been experiencing here in the old farmhouse.
So the original portion of the house was built in 1890 by the Drydens here on the property, and they ended up making a couple of additions to the property over the years. 2 rooms were added to the very back of it, one which we used as a schoolhouse, as a matter of fact. Then they actually built an addition onto the very top on the 2nd floor as well. And the house was passed down through the generations.
What room is this here?
We call this the storeroom because it has the mail, because the mail was in the stores. And we have all the different, like this came from one of the stores, it's the butcher block. This is how you weighed and got your food. All this stuff up here is old stuff from the stores in Poquoson. So we've got, shoes, clothes that were never purchased, that were still in the boxes and stuff.
Oh wow.
Yeah. See them way back in the back there?
Yeah, look at that, huh?
Mm-hmm. These old cigarettes and cigars. Wrapping papers.
Oh wow.
Yeah, because they used to roll their own cigarettes. And my dad used to talk about rolling his own cigarettes back in the day. But like there's pajamas, shoes. So you have a bunch of really old stuff here. Some of it are things that were used, and then some of it was just like, this is a book of record. But anyway, so sitting in here, there's been times when we were sitting in here, Mary and I were sitting in what we call the gift shop, which is what was the kitchen to the house, and all of a sudden I heard this clanking noise, and it sounded just like, because we have a skeleton key to get in the front door, and the knob turned on that front door, and it was just her and I here. But there's a lot of times that I have been here and it sounded like somebody was messing with that door anyway. And the alarm goes off at night. Nobody's out here at all. I mean, nobody's usually in this place as a rule during the week.
And that's a motion alarm that goes off, or was it a fire alarm?
We've had both go off.
Interesting.
Yes, we've had the fire alarms go off, and then like just the normal alarm that we set, I guess that is a motion, because they think that like the back door, that used to open all the time, but they did work on that. They said that was messed up, and sometimes if you didn't shut that one right, the alarm would go off. So that's motion. But the fire alarm, there's no fire here, or it hasn't been a fire here. And then we were in here one time before, and you could hear what sounded like your glass Coke bottles being put down in the Coke carton. Because that's how they bought the drinks when the stores were open down here. You had the little small Coke bottles.
And there were Coke bottles in that carton at the time, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you said it sounded like almost like a knocking, like the bottles were being set in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just like somebody had finished drinking it and put it down in the box for when the Coke distributor came around to collect the bottles. This here is the door that we always have to do this. Make sure we shut it so we know that this door is shut. And this is the noise that and we actually saw that move one day. But you have to make sure when you shut it that it is shut. That's just one of your procedures you do as a rule when you open up. Make sure everything is open for when we're opening up for business. And sitting back through that way in that room and heard this thing right here, and I come because I thought it was somebody coming in the front door instead of the side door that we use, and there was nobody here.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. We just always say, hey, Miss Becky, or whatever. The upstairs is not open to people, but you always hear creaking noises.
And this chain right here, you said earlier.
Yeah, this is the one that And don't ask me why you hear it rattle, but that right there is.
And you couldn't set the alarm. You're trying to set the alarm, and that was shaking for some
Yeah,
unforeseen
so
reason.
we don't understand what was causing that.
Almost like someone just went upstairs,
Right.
maybe, or something like that.
We don't know what it was, you know, but it's not anything that we think is bad here or scary. Because if it was scary, I wouldn't be in here.
Right, me neither.
You know, I just say hello, you know. Like I said, I always say, hey, Miss Becky, you know, because I grew up going to the little store next door.
What I do before the investigations, I just go around like the property, ask the the people in charge of it, just facts about the location, stuff like that. What animals are present here, if they could contribute to any weird noises during the investigation. There is one thing, since it is an older building, the floors do creak. That is. It actually is important because during an EVP session, a creak could sound like something else. But yeah, I just record stuff about the house and try to solidify our evidence.
So we're going to start off with a baseline EMF sweep. And the reason we do that is to find out what the levels are in the building, because there's a couple different things with EMFs. But one of the theories is that spirits are made up of electromagnetic fields. And if there are high levels, they can use that to manifest and to feed off of. So we're going to see what the levels are, to see if we can roll that out or count that in, whatever it may be.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think it's throughout.
So this room right here is called the boat room.
Yeah, this is the boat room. This is, Poquoson was watermen. And they would cut the tree down and they'd use the log and they would, I don't know exactly the correct words, but they would come out with their log canoe. And that's how they worked with them.
And these are smaller scale. This is like on the mantle behind you. Is that a sample of?
Yes, and this right here is one. And these are just different boats now, you know, what they went into from the log canoe. We have all the different tools here, and it tells you how they did it. So
Oh, wow.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I was just saying, talking about the front door opening, you know, we actually, when the door, we heard it and we came in here and we actually saw the door open. And it was weird because the doorknob turned. And that's a hard door to open because it jams, especially during that time of year, because it swells. It's an old house. It swells and then, you know, kind of, sometimes it's loose, sometimes it's not. But that time it was really hard to open. And we have to open it to put the sign out. So it's kind of an interesting thing that happened there. There are sensors all over the house for motion. And, you know, we do have an alarm system because of everything we have in here. So the issue that we have is, you know, sometimes if things move, the alarm will go off. We've had a lot of false alarms with the alarm system, where we've had alarms at night, we've had alarms when, you know, we're just getting here. But one of the weirdest ones I had was, I had shut everything off, I was in the other room, I had taken a telephone call, and when I was getting ready to leave, you know, setting the alarm would not set because it said something was wrong with the front door. Well, I came in here and this chain was swinging, and we keep this chain across here because our offices are upstairs and, you know, it's not open to the public. And the chain was not like a gentle swing. It was actually like that. Like somebody had like hit it really hard or had just put it up or whatever. And that's not the way, you know, it was left when I cut everything off. So I stopped it and then I was able to, you know, set everything, but it was weird.
I finished the baseline sweep of the house, and it's all, you know, consistent. Their EMF levels are relatively low. And we do know it's working because Linda tried it on a fuse box and it did go off. So, you know, if we do get something during an investigation, we know it's not like an appliance or something that was previously there.
So while we were outside taking some pictures around the barn, we came back in and they said that it actually sounded like maybe there was some movements and maybe some footsteps. One of them described it as either like wood creaking up here or else sort of a metallic sound perhaps. And we fiddled with, there's a trunk here, we fiddled with some of the handles and the latch on the trunk. He said it was almost like that. So we've come up here to take a few pictures and see what we can find. There's never usually anybody in this building this late at night, so this is probably the first time anybody's been here, and you know, perhaps a spirit's kind of curious about why everybody's here, why there's so much movement.
So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with a spirit box session, and in the future we'll probably use this with headphones, just so that there's no audio pareidolia going on where you hear things based on the question, you're kind of biased. So we'll use headphones in the future, but right now we're going to kick it off with the speaker. And what this does is it cycles through different radio stations. It's on an FM band, and you can adjust the speed, the rate that it goes through, or if it goes forward or backwards. So we're going to start with this, and we're going to see if any voices come through here, any responses to some of our questions. So I'm going to go ahead and kick this on here.
Now is oxy mode.
And we'll set it on the stairs. I'm Jeff.
Linda?
I'm David.
And we don't mean to impose by any means. We don't want to be here unwelcome. But we'd like to know if there is anybody else here with us. If there is, could you tell us your name, please?
Were you just in here walking a few minutes ago? See, it sounds different here than it does at a lot of like on other investigations. Or is that just me?
No, it does. It definitely sounds different. I'm wondering if it may be because there seems to be a lot of radio chatter coming through, or just a lot of voices coming through in general. A lot of times it's very quiet.
Could you tell us how many might be here with us?
You don't have to be afraid of us. We're not here to harm you. We simply want to talk to you and find out who you are and maybe why you stay here. So can you tell us, is there something in this house that you're attached to?
Can you turn the doorknob for us?
We know someone has been able to move that chain before. Can you try it again?
So, literally just a few seconds ago, I thought, or I could have swore that there was something like in this general area. It made a knock or something, or a feeling, something like that, but really subtle. And she said that she experienced the same thing like 10 minutes ago, like
Staying right
there.
there. Twice. Like it was underneath my heel.
So that's really weird. And I got a feeling there's something like over here on this left side. So that was really strange.
Well, maybe we should try the EMF detector here and see.
And I know it wasn't Jeff either. because when he moved over there, the sound came from over there.
Mhm.
And I didn't move at all.
I know.
And that's the thing. And then I was like, I tried to replicate that sound by moving, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't get that same sensation either.
Yeah, that's really really weird.
There's a cooler patch. Right
Isn't
here.
that?
It is like noticeably cooler right here.
See, I felt like a breeze too or something.
Yeah. Because I mean, when I came over from standing by the door, the temperature drops right here. But when I back up like this, I don't feel that cold spot anymore. So I'm not sure if there's a vent around here, perhaps that's blowing. I mean, I don't see anything. There's the return. Looks like the air conditioner return is right here. But that wouldn't explain a cold spot just being right here. And I don't see any vents other than that. Unless there's one perhaps in the room set up like a store.
There is on the ceiling
And I keep getting a feeling
right behind the
that there's something,
shade up there.
you know,
Yeah, there's
in
one
this
right
general
there.
area too. Because I always keep looking back in here.
Oh yeah.
That, like, I don't know, like I think there's something that's gonna happen or something that is, you know, occupying this space.
Well, we've talked before we came in, we talked about actually starting the investigation in this room. So perhaps we should move into the room here and try it out. That was our initial thought. So maybe we should see if something happens in here.
Hold on.
Okay, that's weird.
She is feeling cold chills on her right side. It started here. I told Thomas to put his hand here, and he could feel it.
Yeah.
And then it moved away from him and got right here. And I put my hand here and I felt it. I said, Thomas, okay, move your hand over, come over here. And he did. And then I went over and she said, I just had a cold chill go across my back. And now it's like against her arm.
Yeah. Kind of went down and it went
If
right
you
on
guys
down
got
here.
something
Yeah.
to measure temperature.
That was when y'all were in there talking about where you
In
felt
that
like
bag right there, there's
a
a
presence.
ambient
or
thermometer.
Whatever, but it was just weird.
That was when
How that happened when y'all were talking after you finished filming in there, when you were using the voice box, and you were talking about something. She was like, "Oh, it's cold over here." And
That's really
as they were
weird.
investigating
Walked away
that,
So it's
from
almost
that.
like it
That's
passed
really
in from
weird.
Yeah.
in there, it passed into
It was
here.
like
Yeah.
running. It was like running away from Thomas because when he put his hand, it went over to here, and then when he moved his hand here, one over to here
Yeah.
to touch it, it went over to her.
Yeah, because when I walked into that doorway right there outside of that room, it was like there was an immediate cold spot, but then it kind of faded away. So I wonder if it came in here.
I actually was the docent here today, and there was one time after everybody left that it was just like, God, it's cold in here.
Oh, really?
And I'm usually hot in here.
Something else hanging out next to you, huh?
Yeah.
I was just returning Linda's things from the shop room and the EMF detector went on.
I heard that beep in the background
And I
when we were
cannot
recording in
reproduce
there.
it. This is where it was and I cannot reproduce it. It just was that one time, it's not doing it anymore.
I took baseline EMF of every single room in this house, and the only spike I got was when Linda put it on like the fuse box. That was the only spike I got in the entire house. So that's definitely really peculiar.
Yeah.
The air was not on. It was cold spot.
Right, yeah. So we're definitely looking for cold spots in the house. And they say that a lot of the noises that they hear come from the front of the house or in the hallway, the front hallway. And we're also looking for EMF spikes because we just had one just moments ago, and we know that there were very low EMFs in the house. So we're not sure what that could have been caused by.
So we've come into the storeroom, and in the storeroom over here in the corner, we have the crate that had the Coke bottles in it down there, and in front of that we have the shadow entity detector set up in case there's any movement back there. And also we have a stationary camera over here in the corner that's been set up on that area to see if anything wants to come in and play with the Coke bottles. When we first came in tonight, the Coke bottle was over here, and they had moved it to the original place that it was in just to see if there's any interaction with the spirits. So we're going to come in here and we're going to do a EVP session. And while we're doing that EVP session, someone's going to have the earbuds in, listen to the spirit box as well, so that we kind of kill two birds with one stone. Okay, so Linda's got the earbuds in, so she's not going to hear our questions. So if she puts out an answer that is relevant, we'll know she's not in any way biased by us asking the question. I'm Jeff.
I'm David.
And we got Linda over there with the spirit box. She can't even hear that we started. And we'd like to know if there is anybody here with us. If there is, could you please tell us your name?
Were you the one that made the Coke bottles rattle?
It's a strange sound, almost like a woman crying.
Remember when I made that comment about the war brides?
The War Brides.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's interesting because there is some memorabilia in there.
Yep. Yep.
Some actual dresses from War Brides, which could have a spiritual attachment.
Are you a bride to a soldier, perhaps? And it's also interesting because that it's in that room, and remember when all the talk about something like walking, it seems like it stemmed from that area, and that's where all the War Bride memorabilia stuff is at.
Right.
It's over there.
That's right.
And then to have her hear a woman crying, that's especially peculiar.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's really, really strange.
You know, it was that one in the spike.
In the same room.
Yeah.
The EMF spike was also in that room.
In that same room, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an attachment to one of the dresses? Or perhaps a different item? Do you know someone that fought in one of those wars?
Could you tell us the name of one of the soldiers whose picture's hanging on the wall?
You seem like you've been very active tonight. Is there anything you want to tell us? Anything you want to communicate?
A few.
Oh, that's weird. That was response to your question.
Because I asked if you could tell us the name.
Yeah, you should ask again. You should ask something again. You got a response.
Okay. What is one of their names? Please tell us.
It's kind of weird because there's a lot of radio chatter, but then every so often there's a woman's voice that breaks through, and the woman's voice sounds the same, but it doesn't seem to be on the same station. So I know it's not a radio station that's coming through. But so far I haven't been able to understand what she says.
We're having a little bit of a hard time understanding what you're saying. Could you try to tell us the name of one of the people whose picture's on the wall in there, please?
The hairs on my arms just like totally stood up. Like as she was saying that.
It's
Like
interesting.
Shivers. Yeah. Or if you don't want to move the Coke bottles, do you want to play checkers? Remove one of the bottle caps on the board for us?
There's something about water.
Water. Are you saying you didn't like Coke? That you liked water better? Perhaps?
I'm a very, very good chess player. Oh, this is checkers.
Positive?
No.
That's really weird. Positive.
Mary.
Mary.
Is that your name? Or do you know someone named Mary? I keep getting shivers in here.
Cemetery.
Oh, really? Let me stand down here. Let me stand over here.
Are you saying that there's a cemetery on the property? Or perhaps a burial ground?
I'm out there?
Oh, that's weird. Shivers again. That's weird. Do you want us to go out there and talk to you? Perhaps you are stronger out there, or could have established a better connection with us out there? Or even who's out there?
Did your ancestors make the head of that axe in the other room?
All of them?
Oh my gosh, that's
What did that answer? You or me?
that. Yeah, see, I don't know who that answered. Are you saying you're all out there?
I've never seen it.
The axe?
That might be the
Oh
axe.
my gosh!
Would you like to see it?
Oh my gosh!
So when I mentioned to Mary and Teresa that it did say the name Mary over the spirit box, she said that she had had her name called at once before when she was in the bathroom of all places. And
Really?
she said, yeah, she said it sounded like somebody had, maybe she thought somebody had come in the door, and because the bathroom is right there near the side door that they use. And she heard her name called, so they obviously know who she is. So we're here in one of the rooms that displays a lot of military uniforms, and most of these were donated to the museum. There's also a couple of things like dresses that are hanging around, so we thought that it may be a very good place to do a little bit of investigating. Perhaps something is attached to one of the uniforms. This one over in the corner here was one of the ones that was donated. It was used during a war, so you never know what can be attached to a uniform like that.
Absolutely, and especially being that on the spirit box in there, you heard a woman that kept coming through. A woman that was crying at first, and we do have several wedding dresses in here, and some of these are war bride dresses.
Right. There's also the blue one that's hanging in the display case here is actually a World War I nurse's uniform.
All right, I'm Jeff.
Linda?
I'm David.
Crystal? Moni?
So we have Jeff here. He has the earbuds in. He's listening to the spirit box here. We'd like to speak to somebody that may be lingering in the home. Can you tell us what your name is?
You attached to something in this area of the house? Could you make a noise or make something move to let us know you're here? Were you perhaps a nurse? Also noticed too that when you had it on, Linda, you were saying like a lot more stuff. Like he hasn't said anything yet.
Yeah. But it took a while before I was able to start picking up on stuff.
I
too.
remember that too, because
Yeah.
it started off kind of slow,
Yes.
and then the responses like went up exponentially.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go venture outside, down the path, and there's an area that is rumored to have been at one time, still is, an Indian burial ground. So we're going to see if there's any activity that we can pick up out there. Furthermore, at one point there was a house that stood on the property, and that house burned down, and 2 people died in that fire. I believe that was back in the 1960s. And one interesting thing to note is the fire alarm often goes off here in the museum with no rational explanation. So we're going to go out there and take a look around and see if we can pick anything up.
So we're standing out on the back edge of the property that is owned by the Poquoson Museum, and supposedly we're very close to the location where the old house that used to stand here burned down. And we believe, if you kind of look off to the side here, we believe that maybe it was in this patch of woods, and supposedly there is still a large magnolia tree out there in that patch of woods that is supposed to mark the location of where the house actually stood. So I think we're going to stand here and perhaps do a spirit box session and see, what the results might be.
Did you used to live in this area of land right here? What happened to you?
You?
What about me or you?
40.
40 what?
What's out here that you are connected to?
What started the fire? Did someone intentionally set your house on fire? Or was it an accident?
Parents.
I was just thinking children. Are your parents out here? What is your name?
$72.
Is that you again? 72 again. Did you die in 1972?
No one.
Are you saying no one survived the fire?
Mom.
Did your mom survive the fire?
Try.
Keep talking, David.
What did she try to do? Did your mom try to escape?
So perhaps some interesting results while we're out here by the foundation, close to the foundation of the old house that burned down. I had the spirit box headphones in so I couldn't hear some of the questions.
Right.
But perhaps some of the responses I gave were interesting.
Yes, absolutely. There were a couple of responses like the number 72 that came through. 72 was either the year that Mr. Dryden died or perhaps the year that the house had burned down, because they said it was probably the late 60s or early 70s. So that was a number of some significance. And it's actually the third time we've heard that number just this evening. For some reason, they've been talking about the year 1972 back in the museum when we were in there. So that was kind of interesting.
That was.
And then when we were talking about the house burning down, he said, Mom. And we said, you know, did anybody survive? And you said, Mom.
Oh,
And,
really?
yes. And then you
Interesting.
said, try, you know. We said something to the effect of, did your mom survive? And then it said, try. So we're not sure exactly what that meant, but there were a couple of interesting things like that. So
Very interesting.
yeah. Very
And ladies and
interesting.
gentlemen, those were not bats in the video. They were actually mosquitoes.
Yes.
They do get that big
Yeah.
right here, which is why we
Yes.
kind of cut that a little short.
Yes.
Now we're going to go back inside and check out some more areas inside that might be of interest.
Right, because
So
they said there's
let's-
been some activity while we were gone.
Right. So we're going to go find out what that is.
Yes.
Let's head on down the path.
Like inside of that.
It wasn't her shut the door back there, was it?
I don't think so.
No, it sounded like it came from this
It sounded like
building.
it came from
Can
here.
you get in there?
So tell us what happened.
I don't know where that key is.
So,
Really?
as we were walking past, making our way back to the front to the house here, we heard a fairly good noise over here, and it sounded like just sort of a large thump. And it seemed to be coming from inside the building. But there's really no way to tell.
The door locked?
Yeah, the door is locked, and it almost sounded like somebody had like pulled a door that might be loose, that didn't have a
Yeah,
nice
exactly.
tight. You know, it almost sounded like that, but the door doesn't move when you try to jiggle it. There's no play there in the doorway, so I don't know.
After you guys went out, I almost heard it too. It's like some noise. Almost like a clicking noise, but it wasn't like the air conditioning. And we didn't want to go upstairs or anything because you got the cameras rolling. We didn't want you to mess up. But then after that, I started timing it, and at 1:01, the light in the dining room here started to slightly sway. And then at 103, the flight suit at the stairs started moving. And Thomas checked for a breeze, and there was none.
Interesting.
And there were footsteps a little while ago. And
Oh,
they were
wow.
upstairs.
Yeah. Well, I'd say we definitely have to go upstairs next and
That's awesome flashlight,
investigate up there a little bit and see,
I got just
you know, what's going on. I know David has been up there and felt like a little uncomfortable in one of the rooms upstairs. So, and they hear a lot of footsteps, a lot of things going on upstairs, noises. So, we definitely have to check that out next.
I still don't like being in any of that.
Yeah, this is the room that kind of gives you a bad vibe.
Yeah, I don't like that, sir. See, look, it's already standing up as soon as I walked in here. I don't like that. I don't like this room. I don't know.
It's a weird feeling here.
Isn't it? Maybe it's just because, like, that closet's right there or something. I don't know. But I left it open to see if it would close, but it's still wide open. But I don't know, yeah, I get a weird feeling coming upstairs. Especially in this general area.
Upstairs, bedroom on the left, Poquoson Museum.
I'm Jeff,
Linda.
David?
Moni.
and we don't mean to impose, but we're here to talk to you if you want to talk to us, and we'd like to find out some information. Is there anybody here with us right now? If there is, could you please tell us your name?
Were you up here messing with the doors a little while ago?
Are you responsible for making me feel uncomfortable up here? Are you trying to make me feel that way?
Yes.
Why do you want to make me feel uncomfortable?
Could you tell us his name? The guy that's sitting on the floor over here?
Are any of you connected to the graveyard out back?
So we went in there and we did a spirit box session, and I was the one that had the headphones in and was listening. And I'm not exactly sure if anything I was saying was significant or that, you know, actually related to any of the questions being asked. But after I took out the earplugs and was listening, it sounded like somebody walked through the hallway to the bottom of the steps and then just stopped. And for a moment there was a little bit of creaking there, almost like somebody was standing there and might have been shifting their weight a little bit. So I'm not exactly sure what that was, but again, sort of strange.
Yeah, we'll have to review the footage from there's another camera set up on the stairs there that's facing the bottom of the stairs in the doorway. And perhaps upon reviewing that we can see if it picked up anything on the video.
Right.
If anything activated it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go over here and open up the smokehouse because when we were walking by it earlier we heard the noise that came from this direction. So we're going to see if we can take a look inside, see if maybe something fell over. Or perhaps if we can get in there we can do an EVP session. Now we got Moni opening the door in case something jumps out. So I'll just kind of stand back. And there we have it.
Oh, yes.
Freak out.
Yes, there's enough room to get in here.
There is.
Go off these stairs.
And,
Is that an old typewriter back there? Look at that.
that is an old typewriter.
Wow.
I've never seen one of those. Like actually in person.
We got a vintage 1980s cash register up
Yes.
here as well.
Yeah, look at that thing. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so let's set up for this EVP session here. I'll set the EMF detector in the middle here. I'm Jeff,
Linda?
David.
Moni.
and we heard a noise earlier as we were walking by here. And we're wondering if you could tell us who made that noise. Could you maybe make the noise again for us?
Were you perhaps looking for something in here? Something that might have belonged to you? There's a lot of older stuff in here. Maybe there's something you're attached to.
Get him?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
My
you.
bad if I totally destroyed your shoulder.
No, the mosquito was worse.
Okay. I want to make sure I got him.
They live around here. Like, you can swat a mosquito and
Wanna
watch
take
them
its
fall to the
place.
ground, and then they get up and start flying around again.
So I have to say this was a really great experience. We got to investigate a place that had never been investigated before, and there was some really interesting things that happened while we were here, and noises throughout the house and things that were experienced not only by us as a team but by the people that were here as our hosts as well. So overall, a great place. I would highly recommend that any paranormal team come in here and be able to come in and experience some of the things that we experienced tonight.
It was definitely definitely a really good investigation. Just earlier in the night, I can't remember the exact time, but earlier in the night, there's definitely some weird experiences, a lot of cold spots, unexplained noises. For a solid probably 30 minutes in a row, we just kept experiencing these weird things. So definitely would recommend any team coming out and doing it.
Be interesting to see what we find, especially with the reoccurring of the 72 and the word burn. I know I'll be looking forward to getting that. And this is a great place. It's a big place, and it's an intimate place at the same time. So I've enjoyed it.
So I have to say that I really enjoyed this investigation. The Poquoson Museum here is an awesome place. The history that it holds, the building that's over 120 years old, and to be walking through this house where many people walked before us, and just to kind of feel the history come alive within its walls. I gotta say, it's been one of the more interesting investigations in terms of things happening while we were here, both sounds that we couldn't explain, some interesting things that came through the spirit box. And this is one of the ones where I'm really eager to get back and hear what we picked up in the recordings, because we always tend to turn out a lot more evidence as we review the EVP sessions and such. So thank you for joining us tonight.
So we actually had some very interesting audio evidence come through on this investigation. And one of the first clips that we got was from a spirit box session. And it sounds like one of the investigators is asking if there is a Wallace here. And the response that comes through says, Eddie. Yep, Ed. So quite an interesting one. We were thinking Wallace was a first name, perhaps somebody's last name. So take a listen here and see what you think. Now the next ones that you'll hear happened about 5 seconds apart. And it was quite interesting because it was a male voice, it was a deep voice, and it sounded like it was the same voice in each one. And the first one said, give up, in very, very deep, like I said, very stern tone. And just a few moments later, it was, you're dead. So in this next one of the investigators asks, is there something here that you're attached to? And the response that comes through is a little bit hard to understand, but it sounds as if they say it is the same book or perhaps boat. And then a few moments later, gave to me. And it's the same voice for both sections of it. So the next one that came through was actually an EVP. And it sounded like a woman whispering, help me.
What is one of their names? Please tell us.
Now, also in the old store, there was another EVP that came through, and this one was a little easier to understand. This one sounded as if it said, "Return home." Now, this is an odd one. We usually think of these audio responses that we get, the evidence that we get as being something like from a human or as from a spirit that once lived, but this was actually something that sounded like a dog barking. Now, when we went to a spirit box session in another part of the house, there was another response that came through that was rather interesting. It was something a little bit unintelligible that was said right prior to cold death. So listen to this. So like I said, some very interesting audio files, audio clips that we had captured here. Some EVPs that were unexpected, some spirit box responses. So overall, like I said, very interesting, very cool investigation.
Never knew they could actually bite you through your shirt until I came to Poquoson.
They can bite you
Through jeans.
through your jeans and through a chair. When you're sitting in a chair outside, they will get you through the chair and through the jeans, right straight in your butt cheek.
A wooden chair too.
Yes. No, not a wooden chair.